All right. Welcome to episode 76 of the podcast. Today we had Adam González. And Adam González is a lot of things. He's into entrepreneurship, sales leadership, and currently he is the president of a business networking organization in BNI. And BNI, for those who don't know, stand for Business Network International. And he's the president of a $5.5 million chapter, which I loved picking his brain and just learning just more about the entrepreneurship. And, hearing his story too, he started early in football, played at a high level, and transitioned over to playing music and just touring around the country. And ultimately, he ended up going the entrepreneurship route and being on the board members for VISIT OXNARD. So that was really cool. I really enjoyed this conversation. Hopefully you guys too. And before you do, like the video, subscribe, and hit that bell notification. It really does help grow the channel. And yeah, hopefully you guys enjoy this. I appreciate you guys. Thank you for watching. Peace. We are here with Adam. First time meeting Adam in person. So that's really cool. I've always seen you just on Instagram, so it's cool meeting someone in person and just feeling the energy.
Likewise, baby.
Yeah.
I appreciate you. And we did meet on Instagram, which is a huge testament of how powerful social media is, right?
Right.
Good stuff.
Yeah, I don't know how I connected with you, but just watching your stuff and your stuff that you post, it's very inspirational. It's very, it's very inspiring, and just seeing that. So
I like it. I love it. Yeah, I feel like people connect and you feel an energy, whether you know the person or not. And that's the beauty of social media. It's whatever you're putting out, you're going to get back.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm glad that we're here in the flesh.
Well,
and go ahead.
Well, that, and also just like social media gives us the power to promote ourselves, our businesses, and we've never had that power before. So it's very cool.
And people will catch it if they want to catch it, right?
Yeah.
So good.
So like, what's for you, your goal? Like what's your main goal that you see yourself doing as far as like why do you do the stuff that you do right now?
Because I feel like mindset and energy is everything. And I've been in a place where I was in a darker place, and I committed to myself and to the cosmic energy that I would do my part to be a catalyst, to be a light wherever I'm at. Whatever business I'm a part of, whatever relationship I'm a part of, I want to shine light. If that's a mental trick that I have, if that's a book that I read, if that's a physical activity that kind of sets me in motion, I will continue to share. Because although messaging is being so diluted now and so many people are saying similarly the same things, but the way I say it might be much different than the way you say it. And the person that's hearing it that needs that message will be triggered in a positive way. So that's why I do what I do.
Okay. And for me, I can remember just being in high school and again, like being in a dark place, like not knowing what I wanted to do. As career wise, going forward, I didn't have that very much passions. So the thing that the switch that happened in me was just reading like self-help books.
Yep.
And studying people that are very successful. And like you said, I was listening to the, Persistence Culture podcast. That was a really good podcast. Shout out to Mambo.
Appreciate it.
And, who's running it as well? It's Mambo and another guy. Right?
Jason Holmes.
Yeah. Jason Holmes.
Yeah.
And
I was just texting him right now.
Oh, nice. And like you said, the copy paste. So people that are great followed people that were already great before. Right. So like Kobe followed Michael Jordan. And for me, right now I'm studying like Arnold Schwarzenegger, people that are already great. And I love autobiographies because you can literally download people's information and apply it to yourself as well. So I love doing that, just being a sponge.
And we all have a heart, we all have a brain, we all have a body. So what really makes us different at the core of who we are essentially the same. It's just little mental tricks or little things that maybe a mentor gave us or a book gave us that kind of set us on the path. So I think that's what people need to know, is that at the core, we're all the same. We all have insecurities, we all have doubts, but at the same time, we all have this limitless potential if you put the effort to make that happen. Right. And a lot of people don't take that extra effort because it's easier to be complacent. It's easier to be comfortable. And I think if you really want to break through the other side, you definitely have to do a little bit more work.
So, like, I guess starting early on, you grew up here, born here in Ventura?
I was born in Hollywood, raised in Oxnard, and then went to high school in LA, went to school in New York. So it's funny, I actually spent the majority of my adult life trying to get away from Oxnard.
Right.
And then I realized how magnetic this place is and how much is going on. The beauty of being between Santa Barbara, being between Los Angeles. We have 2 beautiful daughters. So raising a family, Oxnard is amazing in terms of the family unity.
Right.
So we found that Oxnard is super sticky for us. So yeah, it's been really nice.
Yeah, and just being here in these past few years, there's been a boom of just creative people that have just here in Oxnard for sure.
I mean, you get the piece of the ocean, right? You have the most beautiful beaches. We actually won #1 in terms of USA Today, the best beach on the west coast of the United States, which is huge. But you get a peaceful scenery as opposed to an overcrowded beach. So you're able to actually digest your inspiration to put it into action, as opposed to getting overly stimulated, which big cities might do to people. They're so bombarded with stimuli that they have trouble executing.
Right. It's not very condensed. It's more like open, you could say.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah. It's just like comparing Oxnard to LA. It's like the city. It's very condensed. So many people going on, moving around the city.
Now, mind you, I'm a big city guy. I love big cities, but I really found an amazing pocket of where we're at in terms of my family, in terms of what I'm doing business wise, and just the overall quality of life here.
Yeah. Just sticking to the early days. And I mean, kind of, you said you were in a dark place. Like, what was that, and how was that time of your life?
I'm not going to generalize. I'm just going to speak for myself.
Yeah.
I believe, and this is a general statement, but I believe everyone has to go through a dark place. I believe everyone has to. I mean, you start with our birth, right? Being born is very traumatic. It's not this easy thing. So I feel like from the beginning of our journey, from our spiritual side, our physical side, we are going through traumas, regardless of where we're born, our family, so on and so forth. So I believe a dark time is necessary to get you through the other side. Otherwise, how can you be the messenger of good times if you haven't experienced the bad times?
Right.
So, that's that. I believe that it was self-induced dark times for this specific scenario. Obviously, we've had so many different things of childhood, of traumas, high school, whatever that case may be. Everything's relative to that person, right?
Right.
But then you added on to excessive smoking, and I was, I'm a fan of drugs in the sense that expands your mind.
Exactly.
It gives you the understanding of how powerful the mind is. But at the time, I was maybe doing too much. Was it self-induced pain? Was it me trying to mask different emotions that I was experiencing, or past traumas, as we're going to overuse the word?
Yeah.
But then I decided to, I had an awakening, and my sister, Genesis, I love her to death. She was like, Adam, are you okay? Are you feel like you are thinking about committing suicide? And I'm like, holy shit! I've never in my life ever would remotely think about. I love life too much,
right?
But for someone to see me, someone so close to me, and ask me that question, it kind of triggered. Like, what am I doing?
Dang.
What am I doing wrong? What's going on? So I decided, you know what? I'm going to stop smoking weed. I'm going to stop drinking alcohol. I'm going to stop doing this. I want to take everything on, all of my feelings and emotions, face value. I want to experience and feel. I think there's so much of, oh, well, I do this because it helps me with that. And mind you, we all have different strategies and techniques to get into a different place. So no judgment with anything. But for me specifically, I needed to shed. I needed to remove all substances and all cloudy mindset to kind of break on through the other side. And that's every time I say that, I think of the Doors. But
break on through.
But it was so profound, and I know you wanted to hear about this, and I've never gone public with this.
Was this the story that you were talking about?
Yeah.
Okay.
And it's so weird to even explain it because it doesn't make sense. It's not very logical or whatever. But But there were, in that time of 2010, 2011, I went through this huge spiritual awakening where it was a universal download.
Right.
And this is before all the books. This is before I read anything of like the law of attraction and Think and Grow Rich and blah, 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 blah. So many books. I was experiencing these universal downloads.
Right.
And we could make this as crazy as you want, but I'm just going to let it out. But it was so bizarre that in those moments, everything that I touched, was turning to gold. Everything that I thought would happen.
That's alchemy.
I was becoming this manifesting machine, and I actually sometimes refer to myself as that. Yeah. It's a lot harder for me to do now what I did back then, because it was like beginner's luck, and I was just complete overload of these downloads. Right. Whereas now I need to be much more intentional. Like, did I meditate? Did I exercise? Did I journal? All of these different things that I have to practice now. Back then, it was a whirlwind of I could see things as if I was psychic, as if everything that went through my head was happening, and I was ahead of the curve in terms of I could see what was going on. I could see almost like little molecules of life because of how tapped in I was. Right. I even wrote an entire album about this experience. Music-wise. And it was called Fantasy Playground, because that was the only way that I could articulate to myself what was happening to me. It was like this huge fantasy that everything that I was experiencing in my head was happening in real life, which was pretty profound. Right. Now getting to the crazier side, at that moment, I literally thought that I was being chosen by the cosmos to spread this message. Right. Sounds crazy now, but my name's Adam. Yeah. I had long hair. So everything about me was like this prophet man. And that's how I felt. Right. So that's how I felt. And it was so insane to me of all the power that I had that I was experiencing through this awakening. Right. I haven't really expressed that publicly because it doesn't even sound good now. It's hard to express it now. Yeah. But after reading so many books, people do experience these quantum leaps, these universal downloads, and they change the world with it. Right. So everything that I've done since then has been a reflection of those experiences. It may not look like the long hair prophet, screaming from a mountaintop, but everything that I do, it has those core principles behind that experience.
So, I mean, when you say these downloads or these universal truths, like a few questions. Yeah. Were there psychedelics involved? And also, I mean, because some people can't experience those types of experiences on psychedelics. Yeah. Was there psychedelics involved? And then another question is, what were those downloads? Like, what information were you receiving that was like, oh shit?
Well, I could put everything in one sentence, and it's what all the prophets have ever talked about, is that it's love. Like, the universe is love. Yeah. It's the energy of love. And so long as we are aligned with this energy, anything that we do in life will be blessed, or we will have this positive ripple. Let's just bring it down to that, right? I mean, the Beatles, all the prophets, everyone says love. Love is all you need. Right. And it's almost true, but we say it so much that we lose the power of it. We think it's this Hallmark card or this Hallmark energy of love. Like, oh, I love her. I love him. This is great. It's not that lovey-dovey kind of love. It's this like, holy shit love, all encompassing, that binds every cell in the cosmos together. That was basically the overarching message that I was receiving and that I was feeling. Were there psychedelics involved? No. Mind you, I actually broke off of any substance, right? Right. And it was mostly running, and it was mostly getting the endorphins. It was mostly just shedding and maybe opening my heart to what was coming in. So do I believe in psychedelics? I don't think so. Meaning like I haven't experienced psychedelics before, other than like some bogus stuff a long time ago.
Oh, interesting.
But I believe for what people, if they do it in a sacred way, to unlock the mind and unlock the heart, absolutely. I didn't experience that with psychedelics, but I do know people, shamans, obviously. Yeah. So many people use psychedelics to get people into that state. Yeah.
I mean, I consider myself a pretty spiritual person, and one aspect of what I think you were saying is that the universe is connected and we're all connected, and one universal truth is that everything is connected. Right. And there's another saying, it's like nothing is new under the sun. And I feel like all this information is there, but even Nikola Tesla said, like, the information is there. I'm just the receiver to to get that information.
Right. We're all just vessels.
Vessels, exactly.
Yeah, we're all vessels. It's all the same messaging. It's all the same emotion, but I say it different than you say. I say it different than Nikola Tesla says it.
Yeah.
So we're all vessels if you want to take on that job. It's kind of like when you get on a plane and you're in the emergency aisle and they say, "Hey, are you able to do this?" Some people don't want that emergency aisle, right? I want it. I want to be the vessel. I want to be the vessel and the one that's channeling and the one that's spreading, because that's who I am.
Okay.
Some people don't want it.
Yeah.
It's a big responsibility.
It doesn't stop. It keeps going, right?
And it's also much easier to not be a vessel for things. Some people would rather consume. I want to create. So I want to be intentionally creating as opposed to consuming.
Okay, I want to share a story that I don't think I've gone publicly either, and I've just told friends and stuff. So I've had a transformative experience as well, smoking weed.
Yep.
So I smoke weed with my friends, and for some reason, I don't know, I don't think this was psychosis or not, but I felt like I was literally talking to the devil, and that, whatever you call it, like a physical devil, like an energy, whatever you call it, it was negative energy. And that was probably the worst feeling I've ever felt. This was when I was 18. And after I got out of that experience, I kind of got into religion. I'm like, whoa, was that like, what was that? So then I started reading Napoleon Hill, Outwitting the Devil. That's like probably one of my favorite books of all time. And that helped me understand like just energies, like negative, positive energies. And when you're in that negative state of mind, it's like you're thinking of ill health, ill intentions. And I think this world and the people either at the top or like stuff like that, they're pushing this negative energy, and it's not like breeding positivity. So after I came out of that whole experience, I'm like, how can I help people experience the opposite of that crazy energy that I experienced?
Right.
So it's really literally like polarities.
Absolutely. One of my favorite quotes, and I'm not a quote guy, so I'm gonna butcher this, but some saint or somebody said it. It's like, preach the gospel every day, and when necessary, use words. I freaking love that because I feel like so many people want to preach, but it almost comes to deaf ears, as opposed to, how do you experience life? How are you living? Do people see you, your actions, and do they see that light that you are based off of your actions alone, or what you're producing, not what you're talking about, right?
Right.
So many people are quick to knock on doors, proclaiming the word of God or proclaiming the light, and this is the way and the truth. It's like, I don't want to hear about it. Let me just experience you, right? Like, let's just experience that.
Yeah.
And I agree. Like, for instance, I've never known that you're some spiritual dude. I just see, based off of your social media and even your music, that's all I need. You're preaching based off of your actions, based off of who you are, not with words. And I feel there was a time when I was very wordy with my messaging, and I wanted everyone, oh my God, I need to save everybody because I experienced this amazing thing. And it's like, dude, chill out. like how maybe I shifted my method of teaching, and simply was how I was living my life. Not to say that I'm perfect, but it's just intentionally of, okay, I'm going to be less preachy and more, how are people seeing my life or my family, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, man, Outwitting the Devil is a great book.
Whew.
Absolute powerful book.
Powerful.
So the reason why you experience those things, I'm pointing fingers, I apologize.
No,
but meaning like, so that's why I don't smoke anymore. Like, I've stopped smoking since 2010 because I love control. Meaning, I don't love control to a fault, but I know my mind is so powerful that any substance or anything that's coming in, I have less ability to tap in or control what I'm being what I'm channeling, I guess you could say.
Yeah.
Because weed is a psychotic thing. It's changing your headspace. And I think people take it too lightly sometimes. But again, I'm just here to express my personal experience.
Oh, for sure,
But and I know you're a runner, right?
Get that runner's high.
That's just, you're just getting those runner's high, and it's natural. And every day you're attacking the day, and you're impacting lives. And I think that's the beauty of the mind and the body.
For sure, and the mind and the body they're one.
Right.
So, and pretty much anything that I do like physically is for the mind, to like train the mind to be strong and to build that mind muscle.
Strong body, strong spirit, right?
Yeah.
It's like some people are like, oh my God, I feel like I'm in such a rut. Well, when was the last time you got off the couch?
Right.
Like, I feel like my life is not working out, or I feel like everything around me is just bad. And it's tough because when they're in that moment, it's harder to get off the couch. But if someone were to drag them or take them to the gym that one day and maybe the second day, they're going to start to turn around, and they're going to start, seeing that things are okay and things are getting better.
Right. And for you ran the LA Marathon.
I did.
Correct.
Yeah.
And Gabby mentioned it because I ran it as well.
Uh-huh.
So how was that that experience?
So it was a challenge. Blake Mallon, my buddy Blake Mallon, and I, we challenged each other. Like, hey, let's run the marathon. We got some swag, and some other guys ran it as well. It was fun. I was a little scared when I committed because I've never ran more than 2.5 miles, because I was a football player and a tennis player. So you're not running long distance for those sports.
Right.
So the longest I ever ran was 2.5 miles, and then I did like a 5K?
Yeah.
Which is what, 6 point?
No,
something?
5 is like 3.2.
Okay, then
like
I did a 10K.
10K is 6.2.
Okay, I got challenged to a 10K,
Yeah.
and that was the first time that I've ever run more than 2.5 miles.
Wow.
And that 10K was actually pretty hard for me because I've never done it before.
Exactly.
So then committing to the LA Marathon, I was like, holy shit. But, I'm a mind guy. I love it. It's just more so like, let's just see what my mind could do for this challenge.
Right.
And I did it, and it was fun. And will I do it again? I don't know. I remember when I crossed the finish line, I was like, that's it? I did all that for this? because it's just, it's like anything in life. It's like, well, then on to the next thing, right? It's like, you cross the finish line, but then life is normal again. So I got to do the next challenge, or I got to do the next thing.
Right.
But it was cool. What about you?
The experience for the LA Marathon, it was probably, I would say, the hardest thing that I've done. And that prior to me doing the Big Bear Spartan race, that was the hardest thing I've ever done in my entire life.
Right.
So far. I was actually training to get a time, so I had to like commit to a schedule, doing these workouts, and I started cramping up at mile 16, and my legs, like I couldn't move my legs. I hit a wall.
Is this for the marathon?
This was for the marathon.
Okay, got it.
So mile 16, up to that point, I was running like 7:30, or actually like 7:45 pace per mile. So I hit a wall, mile 16, couldn't freaking move my legs, and then I had to like slowly go to the finish line. And one thing that I've learned is just, what can I do better to prepare for that moment?
Right.
That's like the takeaway from that experience.
I dig it, man. So what could you do to get better?
So there's like these salt tablets that you bring, and apparently it has electrolytes, magnesium, zinc, all that stuff, so that you don't crap up.
There you go.
Yeah. So I'm going to be taking a bunch of those. I'm going to take pickle juice, all that stuff, train, get my training up. So very good. Very good.
I like it. Yeah. I didn't have any goals for that other than finish. I've never done something like that.
Yeah.
I was more of a sprinter. That's something crazy to me, but,
right.
I didn't cramp, but maybe because I wasn't going as hard, right? Like my goal was just to finish.
Right. Different goals.
Yeah, for sure, without a doubt.
Dude, that's wild though. Running 20 plus more miles than you've ran previously. So
right. And it was fun. I mean, I liked the process. I liked it. I loved going on these runs and seeing what my mind and body were doing. So it was cool. Will I do it again? ?
One of the guys, like the guy that has the world record for the marathon, Eliud Kipchoge.
Okay.
He says that his quote is like, "Marathon is life." So throughout the race, you're going to go through some ups and downs, and it's just a matter of how you interpret that race and like and stick to that mindset
Right.
of like, I'm going to finish.
I agree. I've been under the teaching of Nick Sornicola, my mentor. I freaking work with him every single day, and he brought up something that I believe in more than life is a marathon.
Yeah.
But life is a marathon of sprints.
Interesting.
Right.
Yeah.
Instead, we're not going to this huge, long, drawn out thing. We are a marathon of sprints. Right.
Right.
That's how I see business. That's how I see my goals. I'm sprinting towards this goal, but it is a marathon.
For
and
sure.
I do understand that it's for the long haul.
Yeah.
But if you're just in here just gliding and coasting,
yeah.
people are going to beat you at whatever you're trying to do. Right.
For sure.
So a marathon of sprints is something that I really, really connect with.
Okay. And for mentors, like, when did you start this path of like trying to be the best version of yourself and you know, finding a mentor, reading these books? What were some of the early?
Yeah. So go back to when I was a kid. My parents always blessed me with the best coaches. I got coached by Wayne Bryan. He's the father of Mike and Bob Bryan, the winningest doubles champions in the world for tennis. Right. So I was already exposed to the best of the best. I got coached by Kenny O'Brien, a Pro Bowl quarterback for the New York Jets as a quarterback. Right. So I always knew that if I have a coach, the way that my mind works and my body works, I copy and mirror greatness. Right. So if I'm going to get taught that, then I will perform. So I've always known that as a kid. So long as I seek out the right mentors or coaches, I will be successful. Mm-hmm. Because human beings, we're constantly mirroring each other, whether we think about it or not. And I'll go as dramatic as a kid who's raised with heroin using parents. Chances are they're going to do that, mm-hmm. right? Or someone that's highly successful. Chances are the kid's going to be highly successful. So as a kid, I've always known that, but in my adult world, I've kind of carried that with me, and I always try to seek out who's the best. I want to be the best in this field. I want to learn from this person. And moreover, I want to perform for that person so I could continue getting mentored by the person. Because sometimes people want to seek out mentorship, but they're not doing jack shit. Right. So you're wasting that person's time. So I always want to elevate my game to continue to be in the graces of these mentors. Right. I answered your question a little bit indirectly, but it started from that young age and me knowing that we all mirror each other. So I wanted to mirror the greats. Mm-hmm. What started my journey in this personal development space, it was, I think, in New York City. I wanted to be this professional musician. I love writing music. I wanted to be on this path of artistry. Mm-hmm. And I still am. We're created to create. Sure. Yep. But a buddy of mine who was actually doing music full time, he says, you need to read this book, Think and Grow Rich, because you can't think that you're going to write songs in your living room and the world's magically going to give you money to do what you're doing. Right. So that actually opened my eyes to there's actual strategies to get your product out there and to actually receive compensation for that. But also there's strategies in anything to be better at whatever you're trying to be great at. Right. So that started my personal development era of hey, there are people and there are books, there are audios to getting better in life.
Okay, and then you mentioned going to New York, and then prior to that you were doing football, right? Yep. So that and I'm a music person, so I'm gonna ask about the music. What was that transition like, going from football to music? What was that transition?
To me, it was great. I mean, I remember there was this one night I was in New York and obviously, doing football out there, but I saw this band and I was, I had some beers in me, but I just started crying. I was like, holy shit, as if that's what I needed to be doing. I felt so influenced and impacted by this band. And I just like, that's where because music is a very emotional, almost spiritual thing. Mm-hmm. So when I was experiencing this music, I was like, holy shit, music is what I need. Like, I need to be doing music. I've always loved music as a kid. So that was kind of like my shift. Right. And I ended up stopped playing football to pursue music, and we started a band, and we did shows all over Los Angeles, Mexico. I mean, it was just fun. It was an amazing time. Right. Some of the best years of my life, but yeah, so it was a good transition. I think I took my football mentality to music. and
Yeah.
some artists are maybe more sensitive than others.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
sometimes,
Oh, okay, yeah.
sometimes when when bandmates weren't doing what they said, I always had an evil eye or something, right? because I was coached by evil eye coaches. So if people weren't doing the right thing in music, or we weren't doing great, or we weren't practicing enough, I was a little bit more firm, as opposed to maybe other musicians who are a little bit more free flowing.
Right. Right.
But it was fun.
And I mean, let's not gloss over the fact that you were playing football at a pretty fairly high level, and not mistaken, right?
Yeah. So I was a Division I high school quarterback.
Right.
At a program that at that time was at the top of its game. And then I got a scholarship to play Division I AA football. So not Division I. I got offered a walk-on position for USC under Pete Carroll, but I decided to go to New York for a smaller school, I AA.
Right.
So relatively speaking, I was playing at a high level.
Right. And we're kind of jumping all over the place, but it's all right. So for music, what kind of influences you had? You mentioned the Doors, Beatles.
Yeah.
So what were some of the influences that you had?
So back when we first started, the big band of the time was Incubus. And I actually saw Incubus when I was in high school. I saw them at the Great Western Forum, and I was like, holy shit, such a profound, they're over there with the djembe, they're rocking out with the DJ. They're from Calabasas. So, and me and Brandon Boyd, we have a very similar tone of voice. So, talk about mirroring. I was mirroring and I was studying them. So we did a lot of that stuff. But we also love the Pink Floyd. We love the psychedelic feel of the Pink Floyd, the Led Zeppelins, which most kids at that time were obviously getting into that music for a reason. It's just so impactful
Timeless.
in terms of timeless.
Yeah.
I love the Beatles for how playful they are.
Interesting.
So there's a part of my personality that's very not serious, but more calculated. But then there's also the fun Paul McCartney Beatles with the nice poppy bass lines and the very playful lyrics. So the Beatles always felt really, really good to me.
Okay, and so, I mean, and then you go on tour, or you said you were on tour, right?
No, we weren't on tour, but we definitely did our circuits, right? We did our circuits.
Yeah. I mean, how was that experience? Just going out and being with the band and everything like that.
Some of the best times ever.
Yeah.
There's still a huge personality of me that by the time I'm 50, I want to be a full-time nomad. I want to live in places for 3 months, because I have that very gypsy kind of a soul. So back when we were doing all of these tours, I mean, it was so carefree. You have the buzz of the crowd singing your songs. I remember our very first show, we broke the record for how many people were in attendance at this venue in Koreatown in LA.
Oh, shit.
So just to experience all of that, to feel the love from the audience, actually singing songs that you wrote, melodies and lyrics that you wrote, was so powerful.
Right.
And just the very stereotypical perks of band life.
Yeah. I've done a few like smaller shows, and everyone talks about it. It's like a energy exchange. It's like you feel the crowd, they feel you. It's pretty spiritual as well.
Yeah, you can't beat that.
Yeah.
You guys are in it together. There is energy. You guys are locked in, and it is a religious kind of an experience for sure.
Right. And for music writing, how, like you said, you were a poet before, listening to the Persistence Culture podcast.
Mm-hmm.
You were writing before that as well?
I've for some reason, like, I am that kind of the brain. Like, if you put math in front of me, I will just vomit. Like, I hate math. I could write an essay. I could write poetry. I could write songs. That's who I am. I'm more of a creative mind. So I've always been that as a kid, and I've always expressed myself through that. So.
Okay. Okay. Transition to music. What are some books that I'm just going over the notes?
The book question.
Let's go over some books. What books stand out right now that just come off to the top of the head?
Top of the head, shout out to my brother Chris Beltran. We've been in school since kindergarten, 5 years old. For my birthday, he gifted me a book called Breaking the Habit of Being Yourself by Dr. Joe Dispenza.
Right.
Joe Dispenza is a gangster in terms of metaphysics and neuroscience And what he's suggesting in that book is 99.999% of what we experience is energy. 0.0001% is matter.
Mm-hmm.
And we're getting it wrong. People are focusing in on the physical part of life, and we want to muscle everything, whereas we need to start focusing inward on energy. Energy is everything. The more we put focus and emphasis on energy and the way we feel and the way we're visualizing, we will start to bend reality to our favor. So that one, without a doubt, breaking the habit of being yourself.
Right.
Obviously, Think and Grow Rich. I think everyone that's listening to a podcast right now, they know that that's like such an impactful book.
Yeah. I remember you talking about The Alchemist as well.
Oh,
I read
yeah.
that very early on as well.
Yeah, The Alchemist. That speaks to my gypsy soul a little bit, right? We're all on a quest. We're all, every single day, we are finding new dreams. We're finding new possibilities, probabilities. And I feel like I am Santiago on a quest. I am on that quest, and we all are. And our quest is it's evolving constantly evolving. But The Alchemist was a huge one for me, and that was brought on to me by my high school psychology teacher.
Oh, dang.
And he's like, Adam, you need to read this, and it completely shifted my world.
Wow.
Such an easy book. It's almost like written for kids.
Yeah.
Of how easy it is, but it's very parable-like, so you understand the stories. I love The Alchemist.
One story that stands out in that book for me, and I've read it this a long time ago, so this is gonna be butchered.
Right.
But when he was in this king's house or something like that, and he gave him a spoon, and he was too focused on the spoon, and he didn't see the pictures around the wall, and he didn't see all that stuff. So that's like one takeaway that I got from that book.
Sure.
Yeah.
So how would you express that? Like, what did that takeaway mean for you?
Like be present in the moment, and like it's okay to put your head down, but don't forget about the things you have around you in front of you.
Sure.
Yeah.
And I could take that too a step further, is that we're so enamored and obsessed about the final destination or product that we forget that there's a lot of ways to get there. And we get so tied up in one specific way, right, of getting to this final destination or goal that we miss out on so much blessings because we think it's only this way. Right.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's a great part of that story for sure.
Dang, man, that's like you said, very easy to digest, but very life-changing.
Right. And I think that's why, because it's easy. It's simple.
And the best people that are able to explain things easier to like people that to the layman are the people that I feel like they're I don't know how to explain it, but people that explain things easier are usually pretty well like popular. They're known.
They make an impact.
Yeah. Exactly. Okay.
So I even take that to the reason why I love pop music. And sometimes people are like, oh, pop music is shit. Maybe so, but it's so easily communicated to the masses. There's a reason why it's popular, because there are greater musicians out there. There are greater storytellers or lyricists out there. But if they're so great, they're on another spectrum, and maybe it's a little complicated to the average listener. So it's, sometimes just an easy pop tune kind of gets our head moving, our body moving. It's so stupid simple.
Yeah.
As opposed to the genius musician that's trying to show off his genius, that you can't really get into it because it's just too much going on. That's how I kind of relay that message back.
Yeah, no, for sure. I don't know, and we talk about geniuses and how they some of them go crazy and stuff, and you have like Van Gogh, like, taking a piece of his ear off and stuff like that. So I don't know where I was going with that.
You want to be a genius, just keep a loving family around you so you don't bite your ear off. Don't bite your ear off.
Yeah.
Go running instead.
Okay.
I actually tell my daughters this. I always say I want them to be so well-rounded. So I want them to be genius. I want them to be genius artists, but they need to keep their body in alignment, because you have these artists or musicians that are so in the clouds that they almost go off the rocker.
For sure.
Whereas they need to be athletes as well. They need to be very mindful of how their body's working, exercise, just to stay grounded.
Yeah, for sure.
Because some artists, musicians, they are like, woo, they are gone. And that's okay for them, but I believe you need to be grounded.
For sure.
To be the most, that's my opinion, obviously.
No, yeah. Now that makes sense, because I was watching the Kanye West documentary, and one of the pieces of advice that his mom gave Kanye is that just keep your head in the clouds, but your feet on the ground.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, you need to communicate to both both parties on the just like the Our Father on earth as it is in heaven. They both need to marry each other, right? On earth as it is in heaven. You definitely need to marry both energies.
And that's like going to more of the spiritual path of like this third dimension. Like this third dimension is like a meeting ground for like the heavens and what other things there are.
Right.
I feel like this like third dimension is very dense. It's very like physical. Yep. Whereas like possibly the next dimension above that is, like light. It's like, it's not as dense.
Yep.
Yeah.
Absolutely, man. We're just getting high right now on this podcast.
Yeah. I mean, that's the way my brain thinks. It's like I'm sort of out there.
Yeah. But you're grounded, right?
Yeah, try to be.
I see you at the gym at 5 a.m. because you need to ground your spirit. Yeah. You need to ground that part of you that is out there. You need to have connections to both realms, if you will.
Mm.
So,
okay. And after New York, what were you doing after New York?
So after New York, I had the long hair, and I was this prophet man in my head. I was very shamanic. I actually still believe everyone is a shaman or a healer. Everybody is. It's just that some people dedicate and devote their life to energy work. But there was a time when my wife and my 1-year-old back then, she had enough. Like I was out, I was on the grind. I was doing my thing, playing shows, working in New York City. We were living there as a family in an apartment. And it wasn't the best financial situation. Like we were always scraping to get by in terms of, because I had the only income with while we were over there.
Yeah.
And when my wife Gabby decided like, hey, like I don't want this lifestyle anymore, I was angry inside because my visions weren't working or weren't meeting the needs of the household. So talk about we have a goal, but there's so many ways to get around it. My main goal, based off of these downloads, was to be a vessel for good or for light. But at the same time, I was struggling financially with my family. So talk about a blow to your, more than an ego, it's just a blow to you as a human being for not being able to have a better situation for your family, right? For sure. So when we moved back to Los Angeles, I decided, fuck it, I'm done with this freaking this out there world. I cut my hair. It was my way of saying I'm done with that life. I want to integrate into society, or be like a Trojan's horse, if you will, kind of like be more incognito. Yeah. Where I could be that same messenger, same prophet, if you will, but actually look as though I am amongst others in society.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
No, that makes sense.
Yeah, because I was rocking a long hair. It's like, oh, here's this dude out there in the mountaintops.
Like a modern shaman.
Yeah, for sure. Like, yeah. You know what I mean? But I was like, okay, I need to change my game plan. And since college, I was always into the teaching or coaching football, different things of that sort. So I decided to go all in on education because I've always loved teaching. So being an educator was my ticket to provide for my family, teach, continue to breathe the light to the world, and have a more consistent cash flow coming for the family. Mm-hmm. So I gave back in terms of teaching and coaching football and different things of that sort as well. So
and how like what age were you at that time? I'm just
let's say 27, 28.
Okay.
27, 28, and then 2018. My buddy who Matt Shoemaker, multimillionaire, he said, "Hey, I have something for you," and I got introduced to entrepreneurship in 2018, and I've been nonstop since then.
Right.
And I fell in love with it because of my creative side, because I've always been that. Even when I was teaching, I was always the teacher that was slanging trips to freaking Peru or Costa Rica. I was always slanging something. You know, I've always been selling something since I was even a high school kid.
Right.
I had a business in high school. So it was my way of okay, I'm going to be this vessel, but it's going to look a little bit different. And that's entrepreneurship for me. That's business. That's connecting with people and yeah.
Cool. And so now you're in BNI, which is, and how did you get involved with that?
So BNI is Business Networking International. I'm the president of my chapter. I got involved because my father, he's been involved with BNI since I could remember. A lot of my successful friends have been a part of BNI, and it's essentially building relationships with like-minded individuals who are in business together. So the more I give business to Branden, the more business Branden will give to me.
For sure, yeah.
So that's how I got involved with BNI. It was to consciously become more a part of the community so that I could build relationships with people that way and build business.
Surround yourself with those types of people like that, with that mindset.
Right.
And BNI is like, I was listening to the podcast, different organizations, businesses collaborating and working together. So what was it that you specifically was trying to cultivate, or like what kind of business were you promoting at that time? Was it just connecting people? Was it?
Why did I want it? Because I wanted a bigger net income for my businesses.
Okay.
So I knew that relationships and results matter most. Relationships is huge. If people don't trust you, they're not going to give business to you. And word of mouth business is actually the most impactful kind of business that there is. So instead of buying ads or different things, people are going to give business to me because they trust me, they like me, and they trust me. So selfishly, I entered BNI because I wanted to receive business. Okay. But there's an irony in that. There's a caveat. It's actually flipped and reversed. The more business I give, the more business I get. And those are just little shifts in the mindset. When people are in this starving or lack-minded mentality, it's because they're always trying to get. They're always trying to get. And I'm not getting enough. And I'm not getting enough. And I need more.
Right.
But the people that are really abundant and prosperous in their life, they're constantly on overflow.
Right.
So they're giving, and they're in that mindset. So naturally, the cosmos and human beings will give them in return. So
right.
So I joined selfishly, right?
Yeah.
As a strategy to increase my business, but obviously it's a much bigger organization than that.
Yeah. And I just your personal experiences, what kind of businesses were you working on at that time?
Yeah. So me, Nick Sornicola, Blake Mallon, we actually introduced the 10-day drink ketones challenge to the market. We have 9 patents.
Is that the one?
Yeah. So this is yep. So 9 patents on a product that gets people to ketosis in 59 minutes or less. Ketosis is burning fat for fuel. So when we took this challenge to the world, I knew I needed a chapter for people to flood me with business to get this messaging out there. And it's the fastest selling product within our organization, the 10-day drink ketones challenge. So that's absolutely why. But then moreover, what BNI does is it sells myself as a brand. Like, so whatever I sell or whatever business I'm in, whatever vertical I'm in, people trust me and they know that, hey, I'm going to go with Adam for this. I'm going to go with Adam for that because I know who he is as a human, regardless of what project I'm a part of.
Right. Yeah. It's like a tribe that you have.
Yeah. Without a doubt.
Yeah.
Like you have your podcast, you have your music. You have whatever products you have, it's all Branden.
Yeah.
I'm not buying the product, I'm buying Branden. And that's what people buy when they get me. They know that they like and trust Adam González as the brand, not the product. So
for sure. And something that I've noticed just doing this podcast as well is that it is building a giant just network of people that it keeps expanding, which is pretty cool.
Yep. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think too, that's the reason why we're here, right? Right? I mean, isn't it's a trip?
Yeah, it is a trip.
Social media then connected us. Then you recently interviewed my wife, who's a crime scene investigator.
Yeah, that was a good,
right?
Great podcast.
So my wife is crazy in the sense of all the crazy things that she sees that I can't, stomach, but that's her gift. And now you're connecting with someone else on a different level, whether that's spirituality, business, entrepreneurship. So you're bridging this community of just light workers, if you will, right?
Yeah.
Because my wife is dope. Like, even though she sees all of these amazing things, she is her own light shiner in her own field. So
Right.
it's pretty cool.
Nice. And then so BNI, what else are you doing right now? You're doing solar as well, right?
Yep. Mm-hmm.
And you're doing a lot. How did you get into solar?
So same partners.
Okay.
Same partners with the ketone company. Whatever we are in, we are going to bring our touch to the marketplace. So right now, the solar industry is represented by a lot of, like, I don't want to say shady people, but it's just people flying in random door knockers, banging on a bunch of doors and saying, hey, trust this random door knocker on such a huge investment on your home. Whereas we saw an opportunity to bring more highly professionals and more trustworthy consultants for that asset, which is their home. So we're actually a nationwide dealer. So I sell in Texas, Florida, Arizona, California, essentially everywhere.
Right.
Whereas most people can't do that, and we provide top-notch service. So it's been pretty awesome, amazing.
Yeah. Are you just, for you specifically, are you just referring people? Are you like installing? I'm just curious of what you do.
What the dynamic is.
Yeah.
So I am not the installer, but I work with the top installers in every marketplace.
Okay.
So why is that better than somebody else? Because we don't have to shove one specific product down someone's throat. I have the opportunity to give you whatever's best for you. Okay.
Right.
And that's whether that's the best financing, the best installs, the best company, right? I'm going to give you the best of the best of the best, as opposed to most companies, they only have one panel, one financial product, and they're going to say to that client, this is what you need, and this is the greatest thing for you, whether that's true or not.
Right.
So that's the biggest thing. The other thing, too, is that when they work with us, they're getting the BAT number. They're never going to have a 1-800 number. They're always going to speak to us. We're walking them through A to Z, which is pretty powerful. And what sets us apart is that we work with the top performing real estate agents in the United States.
Right.
So it's pretty cool.
Yeah, and I mean, I said it again, I'm gonna say it again. It's building that network and that trust within that community. So it's you're known for that, and you're known for what you can provide.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's professionalism. That's that's me being in the community, whether that's being on the board member of VISIT OXNARD or being the president of a chapter. There's so many different things that people are getting when they work with me as opposed to somebody else.
Right.
So,
and I wanted to ask about that too. VISIT OXNARD.
Yeah.
How did you get involved with that?
VISIT OXNARD. So, again, when we moved from Los Angeles to Oxnard in 2015, and I was a little sad. I was a little bit disappointed that we moved back to Oxnard because I love Los Angeles, but our second daughter came, so we decided let's buy a house and with a proper yard. And so when I came back, I started really getting involved with the marketing of Oxnard, and I was blown away by how well this Instagram page of VISIT OXNARD was marketing the city.
Yeah.
Because I was fighting being back, but then following their content, I was just so in love with the way that they were doing everything. And shout out to Brittany Hendricks and Julie Mino for leading the charge with VISIT OXNARD. But I was so blown away, and I was constantly in communication. Talk about networking. I'm always networking. I think you and I reached out to you or vice versa, but I'm constantly networking.
Right.
And we've done a lot of commercials and been on billboards with them, and it's just building that relationship. But they asked me to be on the board because of my out of the box business or out of the box kind of mentality. So it's been awesome. It's been really, really cool.
Cool. And you said your goal by 50 is to be a digital nomad, right?
Yeah, to be nomadic.
Nomadic,
yeah.
okay.
So digital nomad, sure.
For sure.
I actually follow a lot of people. I have a lot of friends that are in this space. And I love the concept of my absolute happy place is travel. Whenever I'm traveling, whenever I'm on a plane, I'm super happy, right? And I think it's because it enhances your life.
Sure.
So by 50, our kids will be grown, you know what I mean? And I just want to take my wife and I, and the kids could come if they want, but 3 months here, 3 months there, 3 months everywhere. And just seeing the world, and yes, having an income online, and still keeping my business relationships alive, but just being nomadic and free and location independent, without a doubt.
So I mean, for me, I'm just curious as well, because that's the goal, is to be able to schedule whatever you want to do, and basically just have time, because time is your most valuable asset. So I want to be able to schedule anything that I want to schedule when I want. It's like doing the podcast, making social media content. So for you, what are the ways that you're going to get this source of income, different sources of income, like real estate, stocks?
Sure.
Stuff,
So shout out to Abel Acosta with Acosta Wealth Management. He could take care of all of your listeners in terms of financial advice and strategy.
Right.
But for me, I'm already location independent now.
Nice.
So there's not going to be much of a shift, right? I'm
Yeah.
I'm here at 10 o'clock in the morning on a Monday morning on your podcast, because I scheduled that out.
Right.
So there's not going to be much of a shift in that regard. I think the biggest implication would be, it's just about my daughters. It's just about my daughters, making sure that they're old enough to do what they want to do with their life. Whereas, by 50, my wife and I could have a little bit more freedom from our daughters. I mean, they could come along, but that's the biggest shift. So yes, it's financial strategies, it's investments that are coming in passively, that's coming in, residually. But for me, I'm already location independent.
Nice.
It's do I want to be in Oxnard being location independent, or do I want to be somewhere in Bali, right? So that's the big question.
Yeah, I mean, people, I'm speaking for, a lot of times I speak to my 18-year-old self, like, how can someone, like, how can you give someone the path to that entrepreneurship? So what advice would you give that 18-year-old person, as far as like whoever like that wants to have a schedule like that, and that wants to be free, location independent?
What advice would I want to give them? This sounds cheesy and cliche, but find someone that has it, and take them out to lunch. Make them as your mentor. Find somebody that has it and that's doing well in it, so that way they could mentor you. Because the beauty of entrepreneurship is that everyone's getting gifted ideas or strategies or philosophies. I've been gifted these strategies by mentors. So it's an unspoken law that I have to give and gift to somebody else that needs those strategies. So first and foremost, find and identify someone that's doing it, and go that route. I mean, there's even somebody, I was in an Uber one time, and this girl, she was like, "Oh, I just got back from Mexico, and this is my third income right here." I was like, "Oh, great. Like, what's your goal?" Or like, why, 3 incomes? "Oh, because I follow this couple, Our Rich Journey." And sure enough, I follow Our Rich Journey. They retired by 39. So there's that other strategy that, like, people are doing it. So what are they doing to get there? And you just need to be super aggressive in terms of making that a reality for you.
Yeah, and I mean, one book that comes to mind for me is the Master Key System, and there's different ways of explaining it, but it's about manifestation. And something that comes to mind from that book is putting yourself in that situation and really smelling the smells and seeing what's in front of you, and really trying to make that a reality.
Yeah. So there's another thing. It's touch your goals.
Yeah.
So touch them. Like, you have to physically touch them. If that's whatever that goal is for you.
Yeah.
So my wife and I were like, "Oh, well, maybe we could live in Portugal." Okay, great. What do? We booked a ticket to go fly us and the girls to Portugal, so we could smell, taste, feel everything as if it was here. Or, "Oh, I want to buy a blank, 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 or a Lamborghini," whatever that it is for you.
Yeah. Get
Get your butt to the Lamborghini or Porsche dealership and sit in the car, feel it, because you realize that it's not that far off.
Right.
So you just have to feel it. And visualizing is a huge part of that as well, to feel, to rehearse in your mind's eye the emotions and the physical life that you want to create. But are people taking the time to visualize? I don't know. So I know I do,
For sure.
and the people that are highly successful do. So that's something that people need to take more seriously. Is like A, visualizing, feeling, but B and C, it's get to that and touch your goal, touch it to realize that it's easy, it's there, it exists.
Yeah. I feel like, is there anything that we missed?
That's it, brother man.
That's it. All right. Well, where can people find you and follow you?
They could find me at I am Adam González, and you could find me on the Branden podcast. And you better be sending some photos and videos out so we could all rock and roll. And if there's anybody out there listening that wants to get in touch with me, please, in terms of mentorship or guidance in terms of the entrepreneurial route, please reach out.
Cool. Appreciate you.
Thank you, brother.
Thank you.